Okay, here we go. Here we go. Let me just see if I can. Oh. Hold on. Hold, please. Hold, please. Let me get rid of that. Let me get rid of that. Yeah. I wanted to get rid of that. That little. Can't remember where it is now. How is that? Is that sound quality better? Perfect. Thank you. Yay. Yay. Oh, you guys. you guys can thank my husband. My husband actually helped. We ran a little bit of a test. It was very it was a little bit frustrating. I was a little bit frustrated, but yep, my husband helped me out. We did a little test. I moved some stuff around to my office. I didn't have to reboot anything. I clicked a bunch of buttons and we are back. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much for being patient with me. I'm no tech wizard for sure. Now I have that little, let me just see if I can hide that. Yeah, there. I don't like that little where it says desk in the little lower corner because I think it blocks some of the, when I get down to the desk. So happy Sunday, everyone. Happy Sunday. Oh, I don't know about that. So we are, let's see, it is December 7th. It is December 7th. So we are into the Christmas season and we need boxes. So let's just start that whole thing all over again because I deleted the first one because nobody wants a video with terrible sound quality. So my name is Tina Bickford. I am the Tatted Stamper. I am an independent demonstrator with Stampin' Up! Here in the U.S. I am located in southern New Hampshire. If you are here live watching, leave me a comment. Let me know where you are watching from. Normally, I go live at 10 a.m. every Sunday morning. Today it is 11 a.m. because at 10 a.m. we had sound qualities that we had to figure out. Thank you so much, Ken. Thank you. Thank you for joining. I am so sorry. Roxy does recorded and not live. Yeah. When you do lives, I mean, this is what you get when you do lives, and it's, but it's, it's a challenge. It's an experience, and that's all. It's you get what you get, and this is what it is. So let's switch down to the desk camera and just make sure that we have no issues switching down to the desk camera. All right, here we are, and we are still doing okay. So I mean, just bring in those boxes that we made last week. So I showed you, this was just one, it's got like a really rough cut here. This was one I was just playing around with, trying to figure out the dimensions, prettied it up. I'll end up just giving it away. This is the one we made. It's much better. It's got that nicer little thumb relief there. Nice open box in there. Beautiful, that gold paper on there. This was the one that the one that I did in the cherry cobbler. That's just like this one. So this one's in the mossy meadow cherry cobbler. Both basically exactly the same. Other than that, and then I showed you guys this one. I bent that. Sorry, I bent that. This was with the Blackberry Bliss and the very vanilla. That little ribbon on the top and the Blackberry Bliss and all that beautiful gold paper like that. And then I did this one after, and I didn't show you guys, so you guys hadn't seen this one. This is using a new die set. Well, it's a new bundle. It is I think it's called hold please. Petals of Beauty. I haven't actually, this is my first go at using it. So but I wanted to, play a little bit. So I did this one. Thought this one was really pretty. So those there, those aside. Okay. Then we are going to make a box today with the center partition. So very similar dimensions and all of that. Let me just grab my stuff. So we're going to actually do this. I'm going to use it on the Blackberry Bliss because I really like this color and I think it's really pretty for Christmas. All right. So there are some differences. Let me just grab one of those other boxes real quick. Grab the one that's got the Blackberry Bliss on it. It's very similar to what we're going to be doing now. So I want to just point out some things. So this one, it's got the little thumb release in it, relief. And it's because this top is tucked in and you want the recipient to be able to open the box without, having to jam their thumb in there and, crush the box or ruin the box. So you want that little area where they can just use their thumb to pull that out. When you have the box that has the center panel or the centerpiece in here, you're not going to be able to have this part to tuck in. So I had to come up with some different ways of being able to close the box without having an option to tuck it in. So I came up with a couple of different ways. The dimensions are all basically the same, but as we go through, I'll point out some of the differences that I came up with. And with this one, this one had very, like, it was straight scoring and cutting. I'm going to do a little bit of very small trim pieces off of this. And that is because with all of the samples that I did, and some of the ones that I have set aside that I'll show you, I found that I needed to just trim just a little, like just a hair, like even less than a 16th would do it. So I'm going to show you that. So I'm going to share all of those things with you that I learned while I was doing this box. Okay. So you guys don't have to learn the hard way like I did. All right. So I'm going to take my 8.5 by 11 piece of cardstock, and I'm going to cut this down into an 8.5 square. So just taking along that 11-inch side and cutting it down to 8.5 inches. Okay. And I need a new trimmer blade for my cutter, but Stampin' Up! Just had a sale on those and they are sold out. The last time I checked, they were sold out. Just placed an order last week. They were sold out, so I have to keep watching that. All right, so we are now going to score at 2 1/8 inch. And then we were going to score at 6 3/8 inch. Oh, Roxy, Blackberry Bliss with Old Olive and a light pink that sounds pretty. I like that. I love the Blackberry Bliss with a nice light pink, petal pink. So pretty. Okay, so we're going to rotate it just 1/4 turn, and we are going to score at 2 1/8, 4, 6 1/8, and then last one we're going to score at 8 inches. Okay, so now you have this same scoring that we did for the other one. And then with the other box we cut, so when you have your that narrow 1/2 inch section up at the top, so we cut on these 2 score lines up to that first score line, and then we cut on those same score lines down to the 3rd score line. That's what we did. So I'm going to do that same thing here. But before I do, so I'm going to point out, let me just move that out real quick. Put this in here so you can see this. Okay. So I want to point out what the sections on this, what they actually become when you put your box together. This section right here becomes the front of your box. This is the bottom of your box. This is the back of your box. This is the top of your box, and this is your flap. These 2 sides here, since this is the bottom, these 2 sides here become the sides of your box, and all these other pieces become the inside of your box, or they get folded to the inside. So when what we're doing today, all of these extra pieces are actually going to form the inside boxes that create the 2 separate sections in there. What I found is, in order to make this box close easier so that it doesn't get lumpy, is I needed to take just a hair off of the sides on both sides. So what I'm going to do, and I'm going to have to pull this down and kind of off to the side so that I can see it. I'm going to take my cardstock with that 1/2 inch section up at the top, and I'm going to line it up on my trimmer so that the edge is right at the very edge of that dark gray space. And I'm going to cut the same cutting that we did before, from that all the way down to the 3rd score line, and then again from the bottom up to that 1st. So the only section that we're not cutting is this section right here. Okay, so I'm just going to move my trim blade here and cut up, and then I'm going to pick up and bring it down, and then I'm going to just line it up with that score line and cut down. And I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. I'm just going to flip it over this way. Just it's easier for me to, because I'm right-handed, it's easier for me to see it this way. So I'm just going to bring this down, matching my other cut, bring it to this score line and cut up, pick up my track in there. Okay. Grab my scissors. Oops. And I'm just going to trim right down to that. And you can just, if you didn't want to do this on your trimmer and you just wanted to trim just a little bit off the edge, and you're really good with your snips, you can do that. I trimmed a little bit too much off on this side, which is totally fine. Okay, so now if you see the shape that you get, okay, so these sides come in a little bit more. Okay, now we're going to do the same cut. We're going to cut up and we're going to cut down the same way we did. But I'm going to be very specific about the way that I cut. The same way that I took a little bit off of each end here, or each side here, I do want to take just a little bit off of this side. So I'm really just going to be taking off the score line. So when I cut on this one, I'm going to cut on the score line. I don't know if you can see that. So I'm going to cut on the score line, but I'm going to cut just on this side of the score line down to that. So the score line is actually on the smaller section. And then I'm going to take that and I'm going to just trim that score line off. You can do it at an angle. It's so small so you can see it. That's all I'm doing. Now you can see that really good. Okay. So do the same thing here. I'm going to trim right up to that. And then I'm just taking that score line off of the smaller section. Like that. Okay. Then I'm going to turn around. I'm going to do exactly the same thing on this side, cutting down to that third score line. And again, if you are comfortable doing this with your trimmer, you can do it with your trimmer. If you're comfortable doing this with your snips or your longer scissors, you can do it that way. So now you can see, same thing. I left the score line on that narrower section, and I'm just going to come back in and trim that right off. Just doing all of this. Now, do you have to do this? You don't. And I'll show you some of the boxes that I did where I didn't do this, and it's totally fine. It was it just, what it did was it just made my box, it was like on the top of the box, it was like a little lump on the top of the box, and maybe the back didn't fold over quite as nicely because the inside of the box just stuck up, and it's just enough. It's just the width of the score line, but it's just enough to make it just that little bit. And to me, I'm really OCD when it comes to that, and I just wanted that to be really perfect. So, but you can absolutely hide it with die cuts or, you know, whatever, if that's what you want to do, and you don't have to go through this part of it. So then just take that. This one was the hardest one because I am right-handed, so I need to, I can actually do it this way. I'm just going to flip it over and do it this way. I can't see the score line as well on this side, but I'm just trimming just that little teeny tiniest bit off. So you can see it's next to nothing, but it's just enough to give you that relief that you need. Okay. So this is going to be the base of our box. Now, one other thing that I want to do while our box is still flat. Well, there's a couple of things I want to do while the box is still flat, but this is going to look a little bit crazy. I know. We're going to put our box back into our trimmer. This section of our box is, if you line this up, it is 4 1/4 inches. I want to line this up, this edge up at the 2 1/8. And you can move this out of the way if you want. Line that up at the 2 1/8 inch. And I want to cut from the end right down to that right down to that score line. Okay. And that's going to be right in the very middle of our tab. Okay. So we're going to do that. And then we want a couple more things. So we want for the piece of Blackberry Bliss that we pulled off, that we cut off, we want a piece that is 5 1/4 by 1 3/4. And we want to score each end at 1/2 inch. Okay. And then don't throw this piece out yet. I'm going to show you how to make, we're going to make a little fun little element to help open the box. Okay. Let's see. What do I want to cut? All right, let's cut our designer series paper. So I'm going with this gorgeous gold paper from last year. Season of Green and Gold. I think this one was Season of Green and Gold. So even like we did with the other box, it's just easier to put your designer series paper on before you put the box together. You don't have to. If you want to put your designer series paper on after, you totally can. Because of the way this box is, so on this box, on the one that we did before, we put designer series paper all over it, including the top. We're not going to put designer series paper on the top, so we're just doing designer series paper around the base of it. If you're using directional paper, just make sure that you understand which, you know, this is the front and this is the back, but when they fold up, just make sure that you know which way is up. Okay, and same for the sides when you're putting your paper on. All right, so we are going to need 2 pieces that are 4 1/8 by 2 inches, and then 2 pieces that are 2 inches by 1 3/4 inches. So, so if I have a piece that is 5 7/8, 5 7/8, I can cut that by 4. I'm just doing math in my head, so I'm kind of adding it all together so that I can just get, because this is not directional paper, so I'm trying to maximize what I'm getting out of my paper. So I'm cutting this down to 4, and then 5 7/8, which it already is. So I can cut 4 1/8, and that leaves me with 1 1/4. And then I can cut each one of these down to 2 because I cut it at 4 inches. That's my 4-inch side. So cut that down there. Okay. And we can set that out of the way for now. All right, let's put our designer series paper on. I'm just going to use my multi-purpose liquid glue. So isn't that gold so pretty on that Blackberry Bliss? Gorgeous. Like so. So this is going to be, this is the front, this is the bottom, this is the back. This is one of the sides. And the last side. like so. Okay, perfect. A little extra glue there. Okay, so I'm just going to set this aside for right now. I am going to, we're going to emboss this. Now I'm just going to go ahead and emboss this off camera so I don't have to upset what's going on here, but I am going to use this new embossing folder, beautiful pattern embossing folder. This one's pretty. Part of it pretty. Now I scored this before I'm embossing it. My score lines are still going to be there. I'm just going to line that up where I want it and run that through. This is a 3D embossing folder. Although I notice, I think I've said this before, I notice it does not say that on the packaging. It is we have this. It really is very pretty. Gorgeous, gorgeous. All right, now bend back that where I embossed it. So it's that. And I'm just going to cut angles here to make this tabbed. I'm going to do both sides. So we have this. Okay. Now, this piece that we had hanging out, I am going to use, what did I do with them? Oh my goodness. Oh. I set everything out of the side, off to the side when I was frustrated and trying to figure out. So I'm just going to use all right. I'll show you a couple of different ways after, but you need something to use as like a tab or something so that they are going to be able to lift the lid up. Now, I have an old punch. I have this old punch from Stampin' Up that I use on some of them. Not everybody has this punch. If you have it, this worked okay. I liked this one much better. And you can use any die or punch or anything you have, anything. I'm using one from the Mixed Labels die. This has some really cool shapes in it. And I really liked this shape right here. But you can do anything like this right here. The end of this one would be a really cool shape. I did one with this shape, and I did one with this shape. This is the one I really, really liked. So I'm going to do this. I'm just going to die cut one of these pieces out. I'm just going to do that off camera real quick. Okay. Here, like that. And we're actually we're going to make this a tab. Okay. So we're going to do this. We're going to come back to this the top of our box right now. And we're just going to do some more tabs. So we're going to take this 1/2 inch section and we're going to do a little tab here. And we're going to do tab here up to that point. And we're going to do the same thing here. Make a little tab up to that point. So you have a little triangle in the middle. And then tab. Okay. So you really have 2 tabs. Okay. Now, what I want to do is I want to go through and do all of the folding and burnishing here so that we have all of that all done and ready. and then we're going to start putting some stuff together. I'm going to do these side ones first. And these ones. I'm going to do this. Remember this middle section, this is basically the front, the bottom, the back, and the top, the cover. So you want, and your tabs. So you're going to want, you make sure that these get really well burnished. Okay. And then we'll do this one. Look at this. And the last one like that. Okay. Now, I'm going to flip this over. I'm going to move these out of the way and just have this section here. I found this to be the easiest way to do this because it was the easiest way for me to get this on straight without having to worry about getting anything too funky. So I'm going to take my little tab, this little piece here, flip it over, and I'm just going to put a little bit of glue on, like half, well, it doesn't even have to be half. And I'm going to line this up. Now, when I line this up, I'm going to move the little tabs to the back or to the bottom or whatever. I want it to be in the center, and I want it to be about halfway on there. That's my preference. The center is where I wanted it to be, so you can kind of move those tabs. If you move the tabs forward again, you can kind of see that it's in the center. The position back and forth, if you only want a little tiny tab, you can do that. We'll put that there. Now you could put designer series paper on the top if you wanted to. But I went with cardstock and embossed cardstock because I was able to put tabs. Designer series paper wouldn't be strong enough, so you'd still have to put the cardstock on. You could put your cardstock on and then layer designer series paper on top of it so that you had that look on top and still had the tabs if that's what you wanted. But you'd still have to have the cardstock there. Designer series paper is just not strong enough to hold the tabs to tuck in. So this is going to go here, like so. And I'm just centering that from front to back, so I've got an even border front and back, but those tabs should tuck so that it's the score lines actually line up with the sides. Okay. Nice, a little bit of glue sticking out there I'm not happy with, so let's take that off. Good, 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 good. There. All right, that's going to be the top of our box. That is going to be the little tab that we'll use to open the box. And look at how pretty that is. So decorative. Gorgeous. Gorgeous. It's going to be so pretty. Okay. Now we're going to put this box together. So what we're going to do, we are actually going to take these and we're going to form two little boxes. When we do this, we cut off a little bit here and a little bit here. Okay. So we're going to, when we do this, we're going to move this up. We just hold it here and we're just going to make sure that the box is square. The tab, you want the tab glued to the outside here. Now the reason is this front will be glued up to the top, which means that that little tab won't be seen on the inside. So we're just going to put a little bit of glue here. Oops. I'm going to hold things up, and that goes right in the corner where that score line is. Make sure everything is good. Everything looks good and square. There you go. Okay. I'm going to do the same exact thing on the other side. I'm going to put a little bit of glue here. And we're just going to bring everything up. And I'm going to show you, once we start doing the, putting this together, I'm going to show you why we made all of those relief cuts, the edges, the sides and stuff. I know that's hard to see with my fingers in the way. I'm so sorry. I can, now that I've got that kind of I'm holding on to it, I can pick it up so that you can see. So now we have 2 separate boxes. So these are going to come in. Now you can, if you want, you can glue these together. You don't have to. You can if you wanted to. What you are going to do is you're going to put glue on the back, and you're going to bring this up and you're going to glue this. I want to show you first though, when I do this, let me just move this out of the way. If you look, I don't know how well you can see this. The back of the boxes actually sit just below the score line. When you don't trim, so you can see where the side of the box is, that's where the back of the boxes were. So they sit just at the score line. If you don't have that little bit of relief, the cover doesn't close as nicely. So that's why I trimmed that. You just trim that little bit off the sides. It just allows your cover to close just a little bit better. And it would be the same thing on, because when we trimmed on, because we trimmed on both the top and the bottom, when we did that trimming, when the front comes up, you also don't see anything sticking up from the top. Let me just see if I can show you an example. Here's an example where I didn't trim the boxes, and you can see the boxes actually sticking up, and you can see that they also hit right at the score line. This one actually hits above the score line. This box won't close properly. You know, you can, as a matter of fact, this is a really good example. This box right here, you're getting that mess. It won't close properly because the box sits up too high. The inside box sits up too high. All right, so make those little trim, those little pieces of trim. Now you can do this either way. You can put glue on the back of the box or glue on the back of the little inside boxes. I'll do it this way. So I'll put glue here on each one of the individual boxes, like so. And then I will just close the box, let it set for just a sec. Make sure everything is good and tight in there. Everything's all lined up on the back. Looks good. Looks good. Everything looks great. Yay. Okay. I'm going to do the same thing on the front. And see, this is when you glue the tabs on the front. Now those tabs are going to be hidden when we glue this front panel. Oops, do that. I'm going to hold those two boxes together and bring the front panel like that. Hold those sides in. And I'm just going to flip that box over. I'm just going to just give it a little bit of a press on the inside now that those two boxes are in their place, like that, like so. Yay. There. Now we've created for this box, we've created two side tabs and we've created two front tabs. So these two side tabs can tuck in and the two front tabs can tuck in. It sits perfectly, and there's a little tab that can be used to open the box. So we're just going to, for quick, I just grabbed these. I fussy cut them, but I just grabbed these bells that I'm just going to put on with some dimensionals. Like this. Like so. And you just tuck all of those tabs in and you have your box. Now I would probably put maybe some BLACKBERRY elements on the front here. Maybe even in die cut word joy. Let me see if I can actually find, maybe I can, I like that. Abundant joy dies right here. So I have this. I have this from our paper, so I'm not wasting anything. Grab that. And that. We'll put a little joy on the front of our box and just dress that up a little bit more. How's that? I absolutely adore this this die cut, but I am going to put it on with multi-purpose liquid glue instead of dimensionals. Like so, a little bit there. That should be more than enough just to pick it up. Right in the middle. Like that. And just dress up that front just a little bit. You can put some dimensionals on that, like so. Love it, love it. So this was the one that we were able to just open this way. This one you open, you've got two little compartments in there, like so. Let me just grab the alternates that I did, and I'll show you. So this was the other one that I did using that same little tab. This is using the oh my goodness, the piece on earth. I curled the wings of the dove so that gives it a little bit more dimension. And then I just, same thing, all of the same. So just the extra tabs like that. So that one's just the same. And this one, so this is where I started getting into so Ken, honestly, for the glue to set, it really only takes like, it takes about 3, maybe 4 or 5 seconds for the glue to just set. You could, even after maybe about 10 seconds, you could probably heat it up a little bit to peel the glue off. But after that, it's on there. So this box right here, this was one of my many versions where I was trying to figure out how to do the box. So what I did with this one, I did the box all the same way, but I didn't do the tab. I did do the tab, but I couldn't figure out how to do this part, like split it. So I said, oh, well, I'll cut that tab off and then I'll put tabs on the side. And I did that. But when I did, the front part was open and you could see it. So for this one, I actually glued a panel on the inside with the 2 tabs. So you couldn't see that. So, and this is the one I did using that other die there. And then I did this one. So this is the first one I did, actually, where I did the flap on the outside. This is one I did using magnets. So this one actually has magnets. These magnets are not, the ones I got, they're not strong enough. It does hold it closed, but not strong enough for my liking. And I did, instead of cutting all these boxes down, I did do, I cut this part down, gave this a little bit of a shape, trying to just figure out how to make this close a little bit better. So there was that one. And then before I figured all of this out, what I did was, instead of tucking both front tabs in, I just tucked, so you have both of the side tabs, and then just tucked one of the front tabs in and left one out with a little bit of that patterned paper on it and a little to from tag. So there are all of the different designs, the different ones. These are definitely my favorite. The ones, this was what I came up with. This is definitely my favorite, using just a little, and it could be anything. It could be a circle punch. It could be anything. If you had, if all you had was just a snowman punch. I have an old snowman punch. You could do that. I want to show you. This was the one that I started. This one's not great. This is the one that I started, where I used this punch right here. So if you had this punch, I put that punch in the top like this, really close to the edge, because it just does that, really close to the edge, and then put the paper on, the cardstock on, the embossed cardstock on, and it was okay. It was okay, but I didn't love the tab on the top, the way that it looked from the front. I didn't love that look. So, I loved more that look. So I didn't end up going with this, but you certainly could do something like that. Anyway, I will be probably doing a couple more alternates today. Maybe do some other shapes, work on some other shapes for those. And if you don't have any dies or punches or anything, and you just that one, just have that little, just leave one little tab out, and that's all you have to do, and there you go. There they are. I am going to flip the camera back to me. Like so. There. So glad that you guys hung out for this box. I hope that you liked it. I'm hoping to have another box for you guys for next week, just to finish off the little Christmas box series, and then I'll be back into cards. And yeah, so hopefully won't have any sound issues next week. Hopefully I've got those settings figured out, and we'll be good to go for next week. And yeah, so thank you all for hanging out and sticking with me and coming back for an hour later for this video. And like I said, it is what you get when you go live. Effing no. So I hope you all come back next week, and I will see you then. Bye.